The big question in Washington this week is, what is the American response going to be to that test firing of a ballistic missile by the North Korean government over the weekend? The corollary question, what's the Chinese attitude about the American response going to be? First, a little background. On Sunday morning Korean time, Saturday night American time, the North Korean government fired off a ballistic missile. It didn't fire it at anything, it was just a test fire, but it was clearly designed, apparently, to provoke the new American president, Donald Trump, into some kind of a reaction. It happened when Donald Trump was meeting with the Japanese Prime Minister in Florida, and the response was very low-key. It was essentially a statement of the U.S. and Japan are allied in this situation and will remain that way 100%. Nothing more than that, nothing more provocative than that. The good news from the U.S. point of view is that this was only a medium-range missile, no capability to hit the U.S., not the long-range intercontinental ballistic missile the North Koreans have been talking about. That made it a little less serious. Still, the question is, will the U.S. do something like perhaps raise its military profile in the region in response, or seek more economic sanctions against the North Koreans? But in that sense, the key to either of those steps is going to be, what's the Chinese attitude going to be? You can't move against North Korea effectively unless you do it in concert with the Chinese, North Korea's neighbor and only real ally in the region. And the Chinese attitude so far has been very standoffish. They have simply said the real problem here is the bad relationship between North Korea and South Korea and between North Korea and the U.S. Very neutral, kind of unclear response. So the two key questions on that front are, would the Chinese go along with more economic sanctions against North Korea? And will they back down on their opposition to putting a U.S. anti-missile system in place in South Korea to protect against precisely this North Korean nuclear and missile threat? Until you know the answer to those two questions, you can't really know what the U.S. response is going to be.